Should I say the question with the book?
No, well, you can, I suppose. You can, I suppose. So that's really making it simple. Then nobody's going to get that wrong.
It couldn't be easier.
Couldn't be any easier. It's right there. It's on the. It's on the. So let's now move on to a different section, which kind of talks about or gives examples of some of the cloud journeys that that you've encountered. And obviously, as we said, there's lots of other content in the book and lots of other examples in the book that you've mentioned. But there were a couple of kind of I thought we'll kind of maybe pick on and try and go into a little bit more detail. So one of those is an investment bank that you've listed, and also the other one is a global manufacturer. So talk a little bit about the investment bank story.
Yeah, the investment bank was actually a funny story at the beginning, because it started in a cafe in London. Okay, I was just go and meet with this guy in a cafe, and was actually the owner of this investment bank, and I found out somebody stole £8 million. So,
wow.
Okay. So yeah, it happened because they actually having everything in outsourcing is that they're a big bank in terms of money, but they were not a big team of people.
Right.
So everything was outsourced to an IT company specialized in this kind of banks.
Okay.
Okay, and it was really very traditional. I mean, usual Active Directory, VMware, to disaster recovery locations, and blah blah blah. The usual stuff, basically. Unfortunately, as they basically copy and paste every single environment, there were some security issues that nobody spots, because there was no IT personnel inside as a resident. Right. So that was the other problem. There was kind of CTO on demand. So once a week, a CTO and a guy on site to maybe do the wiring, adding a new PC, adding a new phone, but that was it.
Right.
And everything else was outsourced. So most of them was in a central location there, and a couple of servers on sites just as a cache. Right. But again, this was it. All the data was in charge of this outsourcer, and we suspected doing forensic that somebody inside the outsourcer was bribed to bring up some data to the competition.
Right.
So we needed to get out of this situation as soon as possible without basically the outsourcer know about it. So what we actually did is, of course, I did the architecture. So the first action we need to do was to get out as soon as possible, then optimize later.
Right.
So I ordered a couple of internet lines. We decided to open 2 availability zones on AWS on London, because of course for compliance reason had to be in the UK.
Sure.
And yeah, and we started basically doing dumping of the machines from one side to the other. So we basically starting coping over. So and that was the first one. Okay, then we had to secure the communication, because we suspected somebody was actually eavesdropping the communication as well.
Okay.
So it was really a complex situation there. When a lot of money are involved, you need to be careful.
Yeah. And
so we decided the other step was to secure the communication, create a parallel phone infrastructure.
Right.
And the quickest one was to have a kind of cloud PBX. So we connected through the classical adapter. We connected the ISDN primary line to the cloud PBX. It's a very classical one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a quick one. We had to look. all this stuff happened in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So we had to move an entire bank in 2 weeks. That was really challenging, I'll tell you. Also, that also involved changing all the desktops, all the phones,
no pressure,
and everything. No pressure. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, I was on the line at 5 a.m. with the cold people
sure,
to to migrate the lines. Even if I'm an architect, when it comes to, everything helps. Okay, so we were there with the team and we did this. Okay, so the first action was actually cutting. So from there, once we copied everything over, we cut the lines with the outsourcer, and then we started optimizing things. For example, one of the issues is that they don't have IT personnel inside. So the first thing was actually going to Office 365, doing the sync, move the emails, use as much as you can OneDrive, but with sensible policies, so that somebody can work from home, especially when it comes to top management. And then, we started phasing out unwanted services that we could handle some in another way, and then we concentrate on the core banking.
Okay, and
what
were
really a long journey.
Yeah. So what was kind of some of the, just mention a little bit, touch on a little bit on the, because I mean, in the book, you've included all the sort of the details, and also there's some great diagrams of like kind of what it looked like before and what it looked like after as well, and kind of all the sort of the high level architecture. Just mention some of the technologies that you moved into as far as sort of cloud and cloud native was concerned.
So there was not much cloud native, to be honest, because it's really pretty traditional bank.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot on Windows. Okay.
Right. Okay.
What we did actually, we tried to use Amazon as much as possible.
Yeah.
And of course, we tried to decentralize things. So and that applies also on the global manufacturer. You use a lizard line from your office, but effectively you can work from anywhere. And that was the pattern we adopted for this bank as well.
Okay.
So that was actually very interesting. And also we use RDS as much as possible.
Right.
Because one, for these kind of banks is mostly Windows, SQL Server, and a lot of customized .NET stuff.
Right.
So you can't actually get away as you like.
Okay. So I mean, so are you guys kind of thinking of like I don't know obviously how long ago this was, but was there kind of is there or will there be kind of a phase 2 to this as well, to kind of maybe optimize some of the things? Obviously, because you had to do things kind of quite rapidly in that sort of very limited time window. But is there kind of a phase 2 where you kind of look at some of the stuff that you've done, kind of optimize it a bit more?
Yeah, we ran a bit about phase 2. I mean, like outsourcing as much as we can to reduce the issues. The issues were reducing the workload of the local IT, because there was basically no local IT.
Yeah,
and reduce the and try to optimize the costs, because at the end of the day they ended up saving money because they were charging a lot of money for nothing, basically. Because we figured out the antivirus was not updated, the workstation were not updated, all this stuff. So, and we try to transition in their mind, basically, rather than in technology, that they can move on to the new cloud, for example, using an MDM for their own devices, all this stuff, that instead of going the old way.
Okay. And so
of course there is a phase 3, but I left after the phase 3 because I actually set the road, and then I said you need a proper way forward to maintain infrastructure.
Okay. Right. So in terms of the business gains, you said kind of sort of cost savings there from the from the sort of third party that they were working with before, but also obviously security. So it's kind of better secured sort of environment, and you kind of I guess sort of set them on the road to cloud. I suppose that kind of phase 1 of sort of moving into the cloud, with kind of, you know, getting a few services up and running and kind of moving some of that sort of core businesses into the cloud.
Yeah, right. From the business perspective, really security was top priority. So by using, you know, cloud services, you know, that are more secure than everything else.
Yeah.
So definitely are more secure than the previous provider. And cost was something like a nice surprise, because they squeezed something like 1/10 of the
Okay,
yeah.
that's a really good, yeah, very good gains.
And they were actually happy at the end of the day, because
Well,
they felt more free. They felt more free.
That's the cherry, isn't it, on top?
Yeah, I mean, it says,
Excellent.
thank you. Okay, fantastic, excellent, good job, done.
Happy customer. Brilliant.
Yeah, and
okay.
Especially when it comes to hardware, because there were a lot on as well on premise. Okay, that was managing it. You know, I spotted a gas pipe behind all the power sockets.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So could you imagine what could have happened there? So
yes, let's go into the nightmare situation that would have caused. So GP, the other example that you we wanted to mention was the global manufacturer. So talk a little bit about sort of what was the situation there.
That was similar. So this global manufacturer was actually a spin-off of a bigger global manufacturer. So they decided to sell this part of the business. And initially, they set up an agreement with the parent company to provide IT services. But again, like for every IT, so we are talking about a few thousands people inside this company, and IT takes ages. So they trying to duplicate everything, but there was, I wouldn't call it business agility, okay? So we're quite the opposite, to be honest. So it takes a lot of time to deliver a project, and they started doing, you know what, they started providing a service to their end customer, and that was actually something like the need to go out very quickly. So we decided to start with a small cloud provider that was very cost effective, like a proof of concept. Then eventually we put a better security in front with Cloudflare. So this small provider is actually DigitalOcean, which can raise a smile because you never expect it from them, but it's actually pretty good for a given type of workload. Okay, and we actually are running down Kubernetes with the database as a service, S3 like buckets. And on the other hand, we decided to use Amazon as well, because the parent company had a big framework agreement with Amazon. So we decided to go, you know what, some of the quick and dirty projects go to DigitalOcean. So we basically embraced the multi-cloud, and the intranet stuff will run on AWS instead, because they offer to you the VPN, site-to-site VPN, and then you have kind of the brand reputation behind it. Okay, and we're actually we are cross-referencing projects, because probably DigitalOcean are actually using an SNS as well on the other side. So it's pretty, because we decided to go for a very cost-effective action. So we tried to balance cost and need, and that was really unique, because I felt the management was really open. There was really open for not going for the safest option, but to say, okay, we need to tackle the budget. We need to do as much as we can, as quick as we can. So we created a small kind of team of 10 people, but you know, with strong skill set and whatever. We kind of created a shadow IT itself, but we,
I thought you were supposed to avoid that.
no, but we actually had the blessing of the top management,
Yeah.
so the CIO directly.
I think the new term for that is a cloud center of excellence, GP.
Yeah,
that's what they call it now. Excellent. Yeah, sorry,
it was, yeah.
Yeah, so what was the kind of I mean, I'm just talking about DigitalOcean. Actually, I'm aware of definitely of those. I actually I think I had a fireside chat with their CTO last year at one of the conferences I attended. So I am aware of them. So what was kind of what was the global manufacturers kind of problem? What sort of challenges were they trying to really tackle?
So first of all, get rid of the previous outsourcer. They were charging a lot of money for nothing. Basically, they were actually almost stealing money, because there's something like they're charging for everything basically. And it was fun because there's actually a parent company, but apparently they were slow, and they're kind of forcing things on their own side. And they were actually not delivering what they asked. So they were really, really frustrated with the situation, that they want to get away. And also they want to empower the single one. For example, HR has big role in this company, and they want to do something like, the latest HR stuff, surveys and everything else. And that was not possible. So we decided to create a policy on how to embrace cloud providers and software providers like Salesforce, for example. Go for Salesforce, but use it as centralized authentication, or do this kind of security. Go for HR software, but do this kind of checks. And we actually, that is really a great implementation of the new IT standards, because we offered kind of virtual liaison between the department and the IT. So there was somebody from us in the team kind of helping them on a needed by needed basis. Okay.
And what was kind of describe some of the technology that you guys used, and what else did you kind of throw over the fence into the public cloud?
So it's nowadays is mostly Kubernetes. We use the database as a service. So we are talking about database service on DigitalOcean, RTS on Amazon. We are using Cloudflare to protect everything. We are using Office 365, especially on the IDM part, because we linked Cloudflare with the IDM to provide kind of virtual VPN. Like we expose some applications only on a given location, so it's actually country aware and also identity aware and role aware. And we use a CI/CD based on GitLab that not only release a new Docker container, but actually pushes automatically, run the user stuff, run the tests, push it on QA, and once we approved, we automatically push on production. And also that's great, especially when it comes to our team in Brazil, because they have their own data scientists, their own web developers, and you said, okay, look, this is the repository. We set up together the pipeline so that you can automatically push in production by yourself. And nobody has the keys to accept it. It's something like you do it yourself, you have your own kind of power, restricted power, and then the platform has all the secrets to deploy, which is pretty good, to be honest.
Okay, so cost saving was obviously one of the sort of the outcomes. That was one of the results for the customer. What else did they kind of gain from sort of doing all this stuff?
Well, of course, agility. I mean, there's nothing compared to the other one. Really, we're talking about probably even factor of 10 here. I mean, for the same project, the same web project, the kind of internal IT was charging 6 months, and we did it in less than 1 week.
Wow.
So
okay.
So this is the kind of stuff we
definitely
are
good improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, that we are quick. We are using new technologies. Everything is on Python, Golang. We are using ETL with, for example, Airflow to do the machine learning and do analyzing, because we have to analyze 500,000 devices in the market.
Wow.
So we collect by real time the data from the customers, and we kind of process and create near real time dashboards.
Right.
So
okay.
this is pretty effective for the cost. We actually really fractions of the cost.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I'm really proud of this company.
Excellent. Okay, great. So yeah, so definitely for for the viewers, check out that section of the book. I think there's lots of really good detail. As we said, there is diagrams for sort of the what the high level architecture looked like before and what's it kind of look like after GP's kind of done his sprinkled his magic onto it. We can certainly talk about war stories of various engagements and projects forever, I suspect. But let's appreciate all the details, GP. But let's kind of just do a little conclusion and recap. So what were kind of the three sort of takeaways that you really wanted to mention for people to actually get from the book, and also just kind of from your experience as well?
Yeah, I mean, the thing overall, the thing is that you shouldn't follow the fashion way of doing things. There are some best practices, of course, but you have to tailor-made your solution. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've witnessed people saying, what are the best practices? What are the best practices for that and that? And let's say, for example, AWS with transit networks. Okay, you end up doing something like 3 or 4, 5, 10, 20 accounts for maybe one VM each, or one service each. It's not really working. Okay, that is the best practice, but actually you have to do your own approach. You have to do it tailor-made. There is no way out.
So don't really follow the sort of the buzzwords, the bandwagons, and the sort of the latest fashions just for the sake of that.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. I mean, this is really an easy way for most people, something like, oh, I've heard about this. It's easy to justify to the management. Don't do it. Because most of the time you end up, I use the phrase, keep it simple. Okay. Don't overdo things just because it's written on a paper or whatever. And also don't follow the fashions, because sometimes even a simple thing will do. Like, oh, we need scalability. Okay, but how many users do you have? 20. So what? Don't over engineer.
Yeah. Okay. And what else did you have? I think you had a couple of other points to mention as well.
Yeah, I mean, you have to choose your own partner. Okay. It's like really choosing a partner in your life. I mean, this is
almost as important. Let's
almost
stretch that just in case the other half is watching. Almost as important. Not quite, but still important.
Luckily, my half is actually not an IT, so lucky for her. But yeah, I mean, it's like don't go for the big brands, okay, for the sake of it, or you probably will end up choosing the big brand, but choose the people you trust, the single one. Because even if there are consultants, they are working for a big firm, trust the people, because it's really is personal sometimes. When you are doing this kind of job, I couldn't rely on on a brand to do this kind of migrations. It's really personal. So no matter where he works or she works, find the one really that suits you.
Okay, so more around sort of capability, credibility, sort of value of the sort of the people and their skills rather than the brand, as you said. That makes sense. And what was the third one? I think you had a kind of a third one as well.
Yeah, no, I mean it's about don't follow the buzzwords and don't follow the fashion for the sake of it.
Okay. Sort of Taylor, I think you mentioned sort of stress the sort of the tailor-made approach, I think was the other one as well.
Yeah. I mean, as I said before, you have to tailor-made your solution. Don't get the best practices.
Okay, so kind of obviously no two customers are the same.
No.
Despite the technology and the solutions kind of being similar or same.
Okay, exactly. The thing is that the patterns are more or less the same. Okay, but a good architect is that somebody who takes the pattern is like, it takes the idea, but then it draws on the canvas something for you, tailor-made. Okay. Just not copying and pasting some icons on PowerPoint.
Excellent. Well, GP, I really appreciate your time. It's been a really interesting talk, and so much more, obviously, for our sort of viewers and hopefully readers to also explore in the book. So please do go out and go out and check out the book. Now, we're not going to go before we actually set a competition. So GP has kindly promised that he will post a copy of his books. That's a hard copy of his book to you personally. He will sign it. Is that correct? Yep. You promised to sign it as well. We might even get the name of the winner. Yeah, we might even get the name of the winner on there. You never know. So, it's going to be really kind of very personal and exclusive kind of thing. So that's, that really for a, for an author, I think that's really fantastic. So, how many authors have you, do you know of that actually do that? So what we want now, GP, is for you to, show us the book actually, because we've not seen the cover book.
Yeah, it is.
Excellent. So I really like the cloud icon on it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I really love it. I felt in love when they proposed me this.
Fantastic. Okay, so in order for somebody to win the hard copy of the book, we need a question, and the question, GP, is
okay. And the question is, which number is on the cover of my book?
Okay.
So the questions go to.
Right. Okay. So, what is the number that's in the title of GP's book? Okay, so that shouldn't be too difficult, hopefully, for people. Now, the rules for that is that the first correct answer that I get is going to be the winner, and you can send your answers to the following email address, which is thecloudtherapists@gmail.com. That's the cloudtherapists@gmail.com. I'll include all the details in the description of the video, so please go and check out all the details on there. The competition will close on Monday, the 28th of February, 2022 at midnight. So if you're actually watching this in 2023, you're slightly late, I'm afraid, or beyond. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit late for the competition. So I have if I have the permission of the winner, then I'll be able to announce the winner on the LinkedIn post, as well as in the description of the video as well. The Cloud Therapist decision is final as always on everything. And yeah, so if you know the answer, please email me. And the first one who actually gets it right, the first one, so it's not going to be out of a hat, it's going to be the first one who actually gets it right. The first one is emailed to me by the time and date stamp of the email that's been sent to me, will actually win the copy that will be personally signed by GP and personally posted by the author, which is absolutely fantastic. So that's the detail. Oh yes, and I think GP also promised that he'll cook a nice meal for the two runners-up. Is that correct, GP? Just a joke. That was just a joke. No, that was just a joke. So only one winner in this one.
Okay, maybe no. Maybe in the next life I will do.
Yeah, maybe
personal chef.
Yes, when you're in the next life in the personal chef. Excellent. Okay, yeah. Fantastic. So any runners up will have to wait until the next lifetime to get there first?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Okay, right. So yeah, so it only leaves me to thank you, GP. It's been really, like I said, an excellent talk. I really appreciate your time. All the links to GP's website, an electronic copy of the book, if that's what you want, will all be included as well in the description of this video. And any of those kind of useful links and stuff that GP kind of wants to include will also be there. That's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It was really an honor to be here.
Thank you very much for watching this talk. If you enjoyed the content, please comment, share, like, and subscribe to support the channel. See you next time. Okay, we're there.
Oh,
that's
really?
it. All done.
Really?
Woohoo!
We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
We finally did it.
Oh.
Can't believe it.
Excellent.
Wow.
There we go. Brilliant.
I think I should get some improvisation class, to be honest.